Welcome, everyone, to Circle City Conversations. Thank you for joining me for our conversation today. Thank you to our sponsor, Hearst Lamontes. In studio today, we have a longtime friend of mine, a fellow Latino trial lawyer, a father, a husband, a mediator, a very quick and witty, funny guy. My friend, Enrique Flores. Enrique, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, hey, thank you for having me. And hey, I appreciate that. That's so nice. I always hear it on podcasts and I'm like, how would it feel to be the person on the receiving end? And now I know, thanks to you.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I mean, we're lawyers here, so we like to feed our egos as much as we can, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a small room, too.
So we like to start off a little simple here at Circle City Conversations. We just kind of talk a little bit about where you're from and your family and what made you want to be a lawyer and things like that. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I was born in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And then my parents decided to go back to Mexico. I was about a year and a half, 2 years old. So really, I grew up in Mexico.
Oh.
Until I was about maybe 12, something like that. And so my first language is Spanish. And I always tell people, like, I grew up Mexican. That's who I am. Then we went back to El Paso, Texas, which is kind of like it's Mexico almost. Right. But yeah, I went to high school there, and I was listening to the Jimmy episode.
Oh, yeah.
He graduated at 16. I did too, but for different reasons. I turned 17 2 weeks after that, but apparently I tested into first grade after pre-K and skipped a whole year of kindergarten in Mexico. So I don't know if my mom bribed somewhere, but I made it somehow. Then I went to UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso, earned a degree in history. But I was supposed to be a doctor. But my parents had a business, a restaurant, and I had to go over there, still had to work. And I, apparently not so smart, took a 7 a.m. biology class, which I ended up failing twice because I would fall asleep. And the professor would tell me, like he would come up to me, you snore. Like loud snoring in class. So anyway, that derailed the medical part, got into history, loved it, aced it. Then met a group, Chicano Pre-Law Society. Oh. Who, and there was another one, Mecha, which is, and they're both, Mecha is the national Chicano movement group, but Chicano Pre-Law Society aimed directly at getting Hispanics into law school. Yeah. Because El Paso did not have a law school. Everything was through UT Austin.
Oh, okay.
And fun fact, the Professor Bixler, he would tell us, like, oh yeah, my son is in a band. Like, oh, okay, he plays in a band. Well, he's the Bixler of At the Drive-In and at the Mars Volta. We're like, okay, yeah, in a band, in a little band. Yeah. So anyway, got then UTEP developed the LSPI, Law Student Institute, something like that, Preparation Institute. And it was a project from UT Austin to try to deter El Paso attorneys from creating a law school there. They were very close. They got money donated. They got a library donated to start a law school. But UT Austin said, well, wait, no, we want the pick of the students. So they developed that, and they would pay you to go to two sessions during a semester. There was LSAT prep. There was some courses that you would take, kind of like mock law school. So I got into that, and that's how I got into law school. I thought I was going to be a history professor. Okay. But I ended up going to that instead. And so that took me to getting recruited at McKinney. Yeah. They at the time, I don't know if you remember, was it Dean Tarr? And he was from Australia, I believe. When we started. right? And then he left that year.
Yeah, and then it was Dina Spada, wasn't it?
Yes, and then Dina Spada was, she's the one that actually recruited us. So, and to close out the LSPI, UT Austin would get some of the students, but then Yale and Harvard started recruiting.
Wow.
And Wisconsin, surprisingly, would come in and be like, guess what? You don't have to take the bar if you stay. So there's like a little El Paso over there in University of Wisconsin. Yeah. Where it is. So, that's took me here.
Is there a lot, is you look at the demographic for UTEP, is it a lot of Hispanic and Latino students?
It's mostly that.
More than 50%?
I would say probably I would say comfortably in the 90s.
Wow.
But funny enough, and this is where you start seeing, like, I came from a different world. I came from Mexico, grew up Mexican.
Oh, yeah.
And I would see the people that would come from Juarez to study at UTEP. And it's a different world to them also. So I was in between. I've always been in between those two worlds. But over there, you see the division. You see the people that have grown up there. And of course, in Texas, you see people that you go up to them. They're like, hey, you start ask them something in Spanish. They don't know anything. They're fifth, sixth generation Hispanic from Texas, which are Tejanos. I mean, they identified themselves as Tejanos. So it's even though is heavily Hispanic, Latino, like in looks, the culture there is diversified. Wow. And then, of course, you bring in all these student athletes. I was a tutor while there for student athletes. What being a nerd brings you. And I met, almost all the volleyball players were from Brazil. There was one, I can't remember his name, but basketball player. And he spoke 5 different languages. Wow. He was from Africa. He was so smart and just like the nicest guy. So, not a lot of people say that, it's border with Mexico. Yeah, there's that obvious one, but there is so much more to that.
How far is El Paso from the border?
The closest, it's at the border.
Oh, it's at the border.
Right,
okay.
You walk over to you can see it. Yeah. And we always, they always say that UTEP or University of Texas El Paso is the only university overseeing kind of like a third world country. Yeah. But more importantly than that, you see, because over here, you would think like, you get a house in the hills. Those are the nice houses. Right. Over there, from the parking lot from UTEP, you see that their houses on the hills and they're cardboard. Right. And it is just, you turn around, like you see this marvel of development and alumni fundraising and everything and how it has changed over the years. But you turn around and it's a different reality.
Right in the backyard, huh?
Right there, right.
Oh, my gosh. Have you been back lately?
I haven't gone pretty much since 2019 was the last time. Yeah. I have family there. Yeah. And just with COVID and everything. Right. Yeah.
It's hard to travel.
Yeah, I have it. Yeah. Hopefully end of this year or next year.
Good. Yeah. And do it when it's freezing up here. Because it'll be nice down there.
Oh, yeah. 50s. Yeah. I'll take it any day.
Get me out of Indiana in the wintertime. Jesus. You mentioned that you worked at a restaurant. I worked at a restaurant. I started working at restaurants when I was 15 all the way through law school. I'd always worked at a restaurant. As far as being in the service industry, working with people, serving them, have you seen a lot of those same skills that you used back then kind of transfer over into what you're doing now?
Yes. Yeah. And actually now looking at either law clerks or possible people to join me, I look for those skills in people.
I do too.
Yeah. Because it's problem solving. Yep. It's and you know what? My father-in-law, he ran warehouses, logistics, and he gives me advice. And he's like, "Look, it's not law," and I'm like, "But it's business. Right? Business is business and business." And you and I deal with people. We deal with people every day, different kinds of people. either we're taking them on as clients or we're letting them down and telling them why, right?
Yeah.
So growing up, I was in that industry. But then through law school, I was at Fridays downtown on the weekends and at nights. So, and I became...
There's a Fridays downtown?
It used to be.
Where?
I don't know if it's still there. So it was, you know, where it was, so J.W. Marriott. Right?
Yeah.
So across from the State Museum. Back there, it was still there, I think.
Oh, my God.
Like
it is.
Year. Yeah.
So I remember now.
Yeah. It was hidden away because when that became that suites thing, it still stayed there. But I didn't see the sign anymore like last week when it went by. But I was there. And I became the guy that they would come to me and be like, hey, we're having issues with this, with this table. Can you come over? And like I would and like resolve it. Yeah. However that would come. So I always saw it as well, you know, you're everywhere. You got to sell yourself. Yeah. And you got to have that, right? So those are just you never know where those skills are coming from, right? Like you're I don't know, you're taking anatomy and physiology in high school because you think you're going to be a doctor, but then later in life you're like, oh, okay, I know the names of these body parts. Right. And that's what we do. We review records all day. Yeah. We sometimes, I don't know about you, but I have to tell people, look, I'm not a doctor. Right. But all the time. This is what shows up here. Yeah. But from my limited understanding of that. But definitely the people skills. And I think that for me, it just, I've always been kind of like quick on my feet and quick with some dumb thing that comes out of my mouth, right? But that actually makes you smarter. And you got to have that street smart. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. People like that. So, and I mean, that's who we represent, right? Everyday people, just normal, everyday people. The people that try to go one night a week and take their 5-6 kids to dinner and they're just trying to have a good time, not cooking that night. And you're there to try to facilitate for that. Right. Exactly. Right. So, so you went to law school, graduated, why didn't you decide to go back to Texas? So, that was something that I think about constantly. Really? I started and not finished my application to the Texas bar about 3 times. Yeah, mostly because I get stuck on something. But then I'm like, oh, okay, I can get it next time. But mostly because we came here, Rosie and I, my wife, and we would go out to the mall, and you would see Hispanic people. Like when we first started law school, we go there, and they're only working. They're the ones serving you. Right? Yes. And then about a year or two later, go same place. Now on Sundays, you see Hispanic families there. Like, oh, okay. Well, now everywhere. Yep. In El Paso, if you look Hispanic, and if you're in some sort of service industry, like an attorney, if you're not bilingual, you're already 10 steps behind. Yeah. Over there, I'm a dime a dozen. Here, I am not. Right. Here, I am one of the only work comp attorneys in the state. Right. So it was mostly self-preservation in a way. Yeah. Just because there's always that thing of like, okay, how am I going to make it? Yeah. And trying to decide, adapt, shift, and trying to just be, I guess, be in the best place possible. Right. Put yourself in that place. That still continues to be the driving force of staying here, even though every winter is like, why am I here? Yeah. Yeah. Same, as someone from Florida, the same thing goes through my mind every winter. And that's the thing. I'm from the desert. Like we got mountains. Right. You got the ocean. Yeah. Like you're stronger than most people. Yeah. Well, and I have my Florida license too. So I know, right? Yeah. Oh, wait, Alex just left. Yeah. So I left the room. Right. Trust me. After we were just in the British Virgin Islands. I mean, it's beautiful there. I've never, I did the Croatia program when we were in law school. That was beautiful.
I've been to Hawaii. Hawaii's beautiful, but I've never seen anything like the British Virgin Islands. I mean,
those are strong words. We were just in Hawaii, first vacation in like 4 years because of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
But I was presenting for WILIG, the Workers' Injury Law and Advocacy Group, which is a national group. So I presented like in a national audience, but the convention was in Hawaii. Yeah. So we just like, we're staying 2 weeks.
Right.
It was beautiful. Yeah. But I cannot imagine now you're saying something.
Hawaii is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I stayed on the main island, kind of did some of the classic things, did Pearl Harbor, stuff like that. Cause I had a buddy that was in the military.
Sure.
Yeah. But we did some other things, Sonoma Bay, which was fun. Ate a lot of Spam. I'm a big fan after that fried Spam.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of when I was a kid, my abuela, she used to fry up bologna.
Oh yeah.
For breakfast, fried eggs and bologna with some rice.
Yeah. And to me, that was, so the first time I heard about that, and it was way before I went, because El Paso has Hawaiian people there.
Yeah.
And of course, side note, being Hispanic, you know someone there.
Right.
Yeah. And I have a cousin there. So,
okay.
We all, I think everyone in this room does. But, so yeah, that was good. And then seeing my 3-year-old just kind of like, going at it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Of course. Yeah.
Nothing better than that. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the early days of your career. You know, where'd you start off practicing?
So I started at when I passed the bar, it was kind of like a recession. It was tough to get a job.
Yeah.
And at that time I was applying to anywhere. Yeah. So I went to a small firm. It was smallish at the time in the north side. And they weren't focused on any one particular one. So I started doing bankruptcies. I started doing some work comp, some personal injury. But then after that, I got recruited by Jason Reese at Wagner Reese, which I always say that it's where I learned, and where I got the courage to go on
Great
my
lawyers.
own. Yeah. And of course, learning from Steve Wagner, and at the time, one of my mentors, Judy Pippin, who was now in work comp defense, but we will not hold that against her. We need them on the other side. So I learned. I was there about 4 years, and then after that, it was time. It was time to go out. Yeah.
And so, what was that moment that you had when you were like, I'm gonna go out on my own. I'm gonna start my own practice.
Well, you understand this. There's a business to it,
right?
To this, and there are a lot of times where we have to say no, even though it may be something that we can help with. I was getting a lot of those calls. Yeah. Because when I joined Wagner Reese, first thing they said, Jason, these are the places you're going to join. You're going to go to ITLA, you're going to go to Indiana Bar Association, you're going to do all that, you're going to show up, you're going to do this section, and you're going to start presenting, you're going to start meeting with people, go take them to dinner, go take them to lunch, whatever. So I got my name out there. Yeah. And that led to about 2 calls a week where I was turning down cases because we needed a certain level of cases to operate. Right. So about that time, we all talked. There was I think it's not a big secret that that attorneys don't like comp. Right. And that's it. Yeah. So and that's what I was getting a lot of calls on, work comp, especially Spanish speakers. Yeah. And you have to work a lot of them to get paid. Yeah. But once you have a system and you understand it, it could work. And I felt like I had developed that, and showing. I won't knock on wood right now because of the sound of bank, but 5 years, and we're still here. So that right there was just the networking that I had done, and the putting myself out there, right? And like people actually believing that I could do the work, or that I knew something. just start trusting me with the referrals, which is how most of our cases come.
So as far as doing that, having that transition, let's call it, from working in a firm of, maybe 8 to 10 lawyers to going out completely on your own, what was that transition like?
Well, so I was a law clerk at the Attorney General's for a while. And then I went full time a little bit after passing the bar, because I couldn't find a job. And they're like, stay as an analyst, whatever. That is a huge firm, right? I mean, it's a huge thing. Yeah. And then I went to a very small one. Yeah. And then went to another one that was growing away when I was there with Wagner Reese. And then going out on your own, it's I think what I missed the most was the people. Right. You come in, you get your coffee, you talk, whatever, you have a bagel, whatever. But then you go on your own and you're like, okay, this is it. And of course, when I started, it was just me doing everything. Then about 9 months after I started, my paralegal from Wagner Reese joined me. She's been with us since then. But still, it's you go into the office, it's you. Like, everything falls on you. I get the attorneys call me and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think I was gonna get you," and I'm like, "Well, I answer my phones." But now I also see it as far as like that CLE you chaired the other day
with
was
Ken
great.
Hardison.
Where
great.
The stages, and now I'm like, okay, now I need to go into the next stage.
Your stage, yes.
So moving into a new office, getting
good for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Another funny story. I know you had Dave Duncan on. Yeah. And I don't know how I'm going to face him anymore because last week I was picking floor colors for the new place. Yeah. And the guy's name is David, and it's some properties. So I typed in the email, it populated, said, "Hey, I think we'll go with the whatever." And
you emailed Dave Duncan.
Yeah, Dave Duncan. He writes me back. Like, "Oh, I think you got the wrong David," and all that. And we laughed it off. God. But you know what? If he's listening, he never gave me his opinion on flooring. Oh, and he's at the property business. So you know what? Next time I see him. But anyway, so we're in the middle of that, and that's just an example of where my head is at, as like during the day. Right. But growing pains. There's still pains
all the time.
But the nice thing is that we're in a community where, hey, I get to talk to you. You understand those issues. They're like, I'm going to put a CLE that answers a lot of these questions that I know people have. Yeah. And we do. So it works. And also to have a community where you just pick up the phone and be like, hey, I'm going through this. What do you think? And every time we see each other, we talk about whatever. And everyone is quick to give advice. So, it's it could be scary. But having people to bounce it off of, or knowing that they went through it, that's comforting. Because you're like, okay, well, the work is coming in. I just need to figure out how to convert that into helping. And like you told us in that panel one time, like help the people and the money will come. Oh yeah. So yeah, Bill, that was, and we still live by that here. So even though some people don't necessarily understand what you're trying to do for them, but so let's talk a little bit specifically about workers' compensation. Tell me a little bit. You handle workers' compensation cases among many other things. You do other things, but within the process itself, just kind of explain that process to maybe someone that doesn't understand it. Well, work comp is I also do civil, like you said. I litigate personal injury, but workers' compensation is a different animal because it's self-contained. There's parameters. We try to work within those and stretch them as much as we can. But the basics are if the person is hurt in the course and scope of their employment, which can mean a lot of things. Like you sent your staff to a conference
Yeah.
and they're walking down the street and they get hit. Is that comp? Hey, it's a matter of looking at it, but hey, I would say yes, right?
Yeah.
All plaintiff's attorneys say yes.
Yeah.
Or hey, normal, you're at a warehouse, slipped and fell, hit your back. What comes next? Okay,
Right.
well, there's really no hard and fast rule or code or regulation where it says when you have to report it.
Right.
But one of the defenses is that person did not report it on time.
Yeah.
So now you have that. So within your job, we're going to say that you reported it
Yeah.
on time. Then they have to direct treatment and pay you benefits,
Okay.
which could be the treatment is until a doctor is the one that's supposed to say, hey, this person is at maximum medical improvement. They're done. There's some issues within that,
Right.
of other parties getting involved and trying to decide that.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to give you that. If a doctor gives you restrictions to the point where your place of employment cannot accommodate you, they can send you home and start paying you 2/3 of what you made, up to a maximum of, I think it was $804. It just went up again July 1st of this year. It had gone up before in 2023, but the last time that it increased, it was 2016.
Oh, wow.
So there's a maximum. I think right now it's about $824, and
Okay.
so they're supposed to pay you that weekly while you're out of work, related to your injury. Give you treatment until maximum medical improvement, and then after that, indemnity based on your injury. So if you lost a finger, that's the value of the finger, and then plus, do you need any future medical on top of that? So they're either supposed to provide it until a doctor says that you don't need it anymore, and that could go on forever, and pay you that indemnity at the end. That's it. There's no pain and suffering. There's nothing like that. So there are benefits.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're undocumented.
Right.
Those are most of the cases I take.
Yeah.
But those are basic rights. They're supposed to take care of you and give you some sort of living wage while you're off of work. That's supposed to be given to you if you cannot work, or accommodate you so that you can keep working if the injury is minor.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why a lot of attorneys don't get into it is because now at the end, it gets complicated, and of course companies, the employers, the insurance companies, everyone, they get quite combative because they're like, well, I have a doctor that said that you're done and you have a 0%.
Yeah.
You're not injured. We see it and we're like, well, the person's limping. Like, so how could that be 0? And they're taking pain medication.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't owe them anything?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fight. There's a lot of work that gets into it. There's a lot of mental exhaustion just because you're seeing these people and they're calling you. They're like, hey, I need something. I need them to fix me, or I need them to pay me. So it is because of that, though, it's extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
Because I've had cases where on day one, I send my letter. They're like, hey, this hadn't been reported by the employer. Let's get on it. Yeah, we accept it, whatever. And so those are the ones where you can say, okay, this is great. It works. The system works. But there's only very few of us that do it.
Right. So some other areas of law, we kind of mentioned civil litigation. What are some of the other areas of law that you practice in?
So I do all the usual ones, auto accidents. I don't get too much into trucking and all of that because of you have to have the staff and that. Construction accidents, if it involves a lot of contractors and everything. Yeah. To me, all that says is litigation. Yeah. Which even if I wanted to, which I could, I just don't have the time because you have to have the time, and you cannot do that to the client. So you got to bring someone in. So I do premises liability, which it involves litigation, but also it's nice because not a lot of attorneys like them, so they send them to me, and I started doing mediations now in workers' compensation and civil, and all of them are connected because most of the people that I get referred are Spanish speakers. A great majority of them are undocumented. So now going from representing Spanish-speaking people all these years and now mediating in that, every mediation that I've had up to this point has been, and one that just emailed me about new mediation, one of the parties is Spanish-speaking.
Oh, yeah.
And they need,
Yeah. Is that a part of your practice you're trying to expand, the mediation side?
I am. And I know that even though we were talking, I'm 44, that's young for a mediator.
Yeah.
You know that not a lot of people will hire me. And I wrote to one because someone suggested, get in on the federal FICA, federal employment. There's not allowed to Spanish speakers. And the attorney was brutal. At first, I thought, no experience on stuff. And then I wrote him back. I'm like, thank you for telling me that, because that is true. Yeah. Like, even though 15 years practicing, I have experience in what I do and all of that. Mediators, we have to see that experience on the face, on the body, and on paper. So to me, it's more of I am trying to grow it, and I'm glad that I'm getting it right now, and I want to say that I'm ready for it. But I know it's going to take. I was thinking safely about 10 years to be able to build a practice in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because they want to hire people that they know have experience and litigated those cases.
Right.
Yeah. So let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about you're very involved in the community. What are some of the local kind of community organizations that you support, that you're involved in?
Hey, I don't know if you can call it an organization, but I am one of the preferred attorneys by the Mexican consulate in town. So I present there to people. I do consultations. They send me cases involving Mexican nationals, specifically, of course. And so I work close with them. And you and I are in the litigation section of Indianapolis Bar Association. And being there, we were the catalyst of trying to get out in the community with some Hispanic Chamber, Send, with Damien Center. But personally, I've worked with them. I work with ILS. They have a farm worker, I would say subsection or section. Yeah. And so I work with them as far as educating farmers on their rights as workers. They're H-2A, H-2B workers. And I do represent, I do end up representing a lot of those farmers because of injuries, accidents, and everything. But to get ahead of it, the main mission there is to educate. So that's one of the probably heaviest involvements. Yeah.
Isn't there a local organization out of a school, I think?
Right. So there's a few. So there was one, Project Stepping Stone.
Yeah,
I think they used to meet at Cristo Rey. But that organization is one of my favorites because they find Hispanic law students or underrepresented. And they put them in a camp that simulates kind of like going to college. Like they go and see them. They go to certain colleges. I think Marian University might be one of the participants. And throughout that time, they have them working on interviewing skills. They work on their resume. Yeah. So by the end of the 2 weeks, I've participated mostly in the interview portion at the end. And you meet them, and these are impressive young people. Oh, yeah. And you and I know that if programs like that, or, for example, Christelle House Academy, I'm familiar with the one in Garfield Park, they have a semester-long class where you can work as an attorney or whatever, and you work on a brief, whatever. And I've had students shadow me from there, and I've done career day there. If there wasn't any involvement with that, a lot of the students just fall through the cracks. Yeah. And And I've seen that because I saw it about probably 3 summers ago, where McKinney had Pathways to the Profession, and they would pair an alumni attorney, a current law student, with an IUPUI student who had aspirations of going to law school. And I met one, and it was Luis Hernandez, who's an attorney now. He was the law student mentor, and we met this young guy. And I've been trying. I've actually you reminded me that I need to ask Luis what happened with that student. But he didn't want to go through to a summer program because he said he needed to help his family in the business. And I said, I have been in the exact same place that you are. Yeah. And it is extremely important that even though they're going to be, maybe they'll be angry with you now, they're going to be proud at the end because you finished it. And you brushed off weekends working with them and trying to do that. But believe me, this is for the greater good. Yeah. I don't know what happened with him. I only saw him like once or twice, and I still think about that student. And otherwise, try to stay connected with HLS, Hispanic Law Society. I talk to an average about 3-4 students a semester, like a coffee or something, just giving general advice. And but I try to stay there because I that's my background. Right. I came up from a family that, I mean, my mom could have gone a degree, and she was on her way to doing that when she got married, and then she became a housewife. Yep. Didn't do it. But other than that, it's this generation, my generation, my family, which typical Hispanic family. Now we're in the hundreds, cousins and everything. Yeah. We have a attorney cousin in California, and now there's a doctor there was finally a doctor in the family that went through that. So it's just trying to yes, we can say that we've made it, and we just being in the grind and taking care of our families and making sure that we raise good humans, that could be enough for anyone. Exactly. But reaching down, like reaching back to for other people to like bring them up and for you to be that path that they take so that they can go further than you. Right. I think that's extremely important. There's always time for that. Exactly. There's always time for a coffee, right? Exactly.
Always. So let's talk a little bit about you personally. You have a family, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How many kids?
Just the one. We're stopping.
Yeah. And you're done, right?
Because I saw people with like more than one, and I'm like, oh, God.
That's me.
Yeah. I mean, we gave my mom a heart attack. I mean, she's alive, which is good, but I want to say we gave him a heart attack in her mid-40s. And we're like, oh God, no. Yeah. It was 4 of us, so no.
And what, as far as, hobbies or things you like to do on the side, maybe with your family, like outside of work, what are some of those things?
Well, we do the usual things for the kids, library, park, zoo, whatever. But me, I haven't had time to do much. But one of the things that I've always loved is music. Yeah. And we used to go to a lot of concerts before we had our 3-year-old. Like we were just talking about that the other day. We did like 3 concerts in 1 week in one summer. Wow. We were, but now it's about growing my vinyl collection. Nice. I love music stores. I'm in danger because on Thursday I'm traveling to Nashville. I hear that's a lot of music stores. Yeah. So I don't know how much vinyl I'm going to bring back. Yeah. So, music. It's easy. I have it in my background when I'm working. I go and seek out, like, try to find vinyl. Try to find like the anniversary one. And I almost bought this. It's a vintage Peanuts vinyl. Yeah. But it had the original booklet back from when it came out, and it was like. And I stopped myself because I'm like, okay, he's probably going to scratch it right now. Yeah. Because no.
They, so my wife, she's an old soul. She likes, her favorite band is the band from the 70s. Yeah.
Not bad.
So I found The Last Waltz, like an original vinyl on eBay, got it for her. And we have a little record player in the house. And then next thing you know, the kids are going to town. And I look down and it wasn't that record. Thank God. It was like a Bob Marley, reprint or something, you buy from Amazon for $30, but, and they broke the needle on the player too. And it was the two little ones. There's the 3-year-old and the 4-year-old, they're like animals. We'll wrap it up here. Enrique, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. What's next for you? I know you mentioned you were hiring an associate. What's next for you in Flores Law Group?
Well, and again, thank you for having me. Thanks for the space. I've been listening to the other episodes, and I mean the things someone you learn from. Hey,
at least someone.
No, they're good. You learn from. I love to learn from other attorneys, and I think this is an opportunity where they're not as guarded, and they just give you so much knowledge. But for us is one the long game of developing a mediation practice, and then still trying to grow practice in PI and workers' compensation while onboarding an associate who they've been with us since August as a law clerk. Yeah, but it's different. Once it's Monday through Friday or for whatever time, that's different. And now I want to make sure that I can give them everything that they need so that they can succeed. Help me so that I can concentrate on other things, right?
Exactly.
So that's the immediate future. Moving so that we can accommodate more people for mediation. Yeah. And just in general, moving into new space, which is the timing is perfect for the new phase, and bringing in a couple of law clerks to help us. And so that's what I can see. And then as far as that is just trying to find a vacation time. I have. Right.
Oh man, that's so important. I told you we were just out of the country, and I woke up, it was crazy. I drink a lot of rum, and I never drink rum unless I'm in the Caribbean. But I didn't feel terrible. I'd wake up in the morning at 6:37 when the sun was coming up and just sit outside, the ocean's right there, and just answer emails, I personally, it's hard for me to unplug, I don't know if I consider answering emails work, even though it kind of is, I guess it's a layer of it, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, if you're in shorts, it's different.
Right. If you're listening to the waves crash against the beach, it's totally different. So how can people get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to our website, which should get revamped soon, thefloreslawgroup.com. They can call us 317-900-2556. And my email, Enrique@thefloreslawgroup.com. They can go to Facebook. We have Facebook pages. We have my LinkedIn. And soon enough, I have to start doing all the other social media. But that's where I am right now.
Well, thank you so much, Enrique. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for listening to Circle City Conversations. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any more future conversations.